Alright, what's up YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today with my Harpie Lady deck profile. So, it's going to start off the month of June strong with my favorite deck in this game and favorite archetype. Not to mention, my screen's a little different, is it not? Well, that is because I'm using YGO Pro 2 to do this deck profile from. So, I'm really liking the background, liking the layout, liking the setup. It's really, really amazing. Very basic colors and setups, and it makes the cards pop too. So, with all of that said and done, I cannot wait to get started with this deck profile. So, for my starting lineup, 3 copies of Harpie Channeler, 3 copies of Harpie Perfumer, 3 copies of Harpie Oracle, 3 copies of Harpie Harpist, 2 copies of Harpie Queen, 1 copy of Cyber Harpie Lady, 1 copy of Harpie Lady 1, 1 copy of Harpie Dancer, and 1 copy of Harpie Lady Sisters. For my spells, I'm rocking 3 copies of Hysteric Sign. 2 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground, 2 copies of Alluring Mirror Split, 1 copy of Elegant Aegis, 1 copy of Triangle Ecstasy Sword, 1 copy of Harpie's Feather Rest, 1 copy of Raigeki, and 1 copy of Monster Reborn. For my traps, we're rocking 3 copies of Harpie's Feather Storm, 2 copies of Hysteric Party, 1 copy of Harpie Lady Elegance, 2 copies of Torrential Tribute, and last but not least, 2 copies of Infinity Impermeance. Now let's move on to the trap cards, and I'm rocking 3 copies of Harpie Conductor, 2 copies of Great Fly, 1 copy of Firefighting Daruma Doll, 1 copy of Barrel Low Dragon, and for my seed monsters, I'm rocking 1 Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, 1 Lightning Chidori, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gaga Cowboy, 1 Castell, the Sky Blasting Musketeer, 1 Ice Beast Zero Fine, 1 Tornado Dragon, and last but surely not least, 1 number 41 Babushka, the Terribly Tired Tape Eater. So, when we do finally get Harpie Conductor, and I'm sure she's going to be censored like hell has frozen. Harpie Conductor is going to see her play in my deck. I'm going to actually start testing out Harpie Conductor again and testing out variations of Harpies and stuff like that, so I can get a full build. But as we all know, Harpie Conductor is the second extra deck monster for the Harpie Lady archetype, and she is amazing. So while I'm talking about her, I want to talk about three particular cards. The first one, of course, is Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, the field spell for one of the 2 field spells for the Mist Valley monsters. As we all know, this card is limited because of, well, one particular little dancing bird, and that is Harvey Dancer. Also, considering the fact that a lot of the other cards that made the Harpie Dancer FTK broken are either limited, banned, or have been errataed, Harpie Dancer still kind of makes this card broken. It's not any fruition there. And with the effects of Harpie Conductor, it just keeps getting more broken. As well as the effects of Harpie Harpist, because a lot of people sleep on that effect that Harpie Harpist has. And if you combine it well enough with Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, you're getting a ton of support onto that board with ease. So, let's just get them out the way. Harpie Harpist's first effect is that she has the ability to select 1 other Winged Beast monster you control and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, return those cards to hand. And that's a hard once per turn effect. Now, let's look at Harpie Dancer, whose once per turn effect is while this card is on the field, you can select 1 wind monster you control, return that card to hand, and if you do, get an additional normal summon of a wind monster that turn in addition to your normal summon or set. When you combine this with Harpie Conductor's effect, which is when a Harpie monster you control is returned to the hand by a card effect outside of the damage step, you can target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls and return that card to hand. So even if the monster is special summoned and it's booked the moon or it's face down through its special summon, Harpie Conductor can get rid of it. Not to mention, you have access to 2 of Harpie's most biggest bounce cards in the game, and then the effects of an entirely different field spell just makes this even more crazier. This is why a lot of people are still testing out Harpie Conductor and finding ways to use Harpie Conductor, because she has so many effects that even though she's not the return Harpie Lady Sisters that a lot of people wanted, she is still one amazing Harpie monster, and it shouldn't matter what well, it does matter of what she does, but if she can't do broken stuff, it's perfectly fine. As long as she's playable, she's usable, and she has some type of defensive and offensive capabilities to herself, she's perfectly fine with me. Now moving on to the rest of the deck, I mean, we have Harpie Chandler, who's pretty much our summoner monk for our Harpie monsters, discarding a Harpie card to such summon Harpie monsters from the deck. I'm not running any level 7 monsters, any dragon type monsters in my deck, except for Barrel Low Dragon, and Harpie's Pet Phantasmal. So the whole level 7 up thing isn't going to be too prevalent unless like it's a different copy of Harpie Chandler, and I've already used the effect, or I'm getting ready to use the effect. But I heard the effect of summoning. No, yeah, I'm only using the effect to summon and then get something else out the deck. But other than that, that's Harpie Chandler for you. Harpie Perfumer. When this card is normal or special summon, she'll allow you to add a spell or trap with Harpie Lady Sisters in its text from your deck to your hand. When you control that level 7 or higher Harpie monster, it is 2 cards instead of 1 for the search, which is great. But they cannot share the same name, which is perfectly fine. You're getting a lot of utility out of the new cards from Sisters of the Rose, and this is one of the hottest commodities out of there because it's the Searcher. It's the Stratos of the deck. It's normal or special summon. Next up is Harpie Oracle, which is her polar opposite. Oracle's effect is that when this card is in your hand while you control a level 5 or higher Harpie monster, you can start to summon it from your hand, which is great because you want to do a ton of things with this deck when it comes to special summoning. And the fact that you get such an easy target is amazing. As long as you control that level 5 or higher Harpie monster. Then, she is pretty much your retrieval card. She adds a spell or trap to the list Harpie Lady Sisters in this text from your graveyard to your hand. So when you start losing your Harpie's Hunting Grounds, bam, in face, Harpie Oracle can go snatch it up for you. Harpie Harpist is your searcher for your level 4 or lower, your level 4 winged beast monsters with 15 or less attack. She may not be able to get herself, but when your key cards are Chandler, Perfumer, your resource cards are Oracle and stuff like that, you want to get to those monsters as fast as possible and utilize those monsters' effects as soon as you possibly can. Because you want to make sure that your offensive game is just as good as your defensive game. And I feel that both Dancer and... I feel that with her first effect, you get that ability as well as the first effect. And as the core effect for Harpie Dancer. Like you're just trying to remove stuff around the board so that your Harpie Conductor can move stuff around the board. So that way you can, snag your victory. Harpie Queen. So, Harpie Queen is the first Harpie monster outside of the Harpie Lady, Cyber Harpie, Harpie Lady 1, 2, 3, and Vanilla Harpie Lady, to become Harpie Lady while they're on the field in the graveyard. This helps with all of the resources and effects that are, Harpie Ladies. And it's something that a lot of people were very, very happy about because, it got over that 3-of rule. We had a new Harpie card. It wasn't one of those monsters that is just, this is Harpie and like this and that. Or the worst part of it would have been if that monster was treated as Harpie Lady overall. Like, oh no, this is Harpie Lady. No, we don't want that. We want Harpie Lady. We want a monster that isn't Harpie Lady but can do stuff. And that's what she does. And she was the first one of it. Harpie Chandler, Perfumer, Oracle, Harpist, and Dancer also have that effect, as well as Conductor, who's in the extra deck. And I'm running 2 because she's a field spell searcher for Harpie's Hunting Ground. She has the highest attack in the main deck outside of Sister and Dragon, outside of Harpie Sisters in terms of the Winged Beast. And not to mention, she sets up for a ton of cards in this deck. Hysteric Party's effect. She sets up for Harpie Lady Elegance. She sets up for Alluring Mirror Split. And she gets a lot of setup cards too. So even if you can't get in, even if you don't get your, if you don't get to your Perfumer fast enough, Queen is your next option to go get your first spell. Then I'm running one of the 2. I'm only running 2 of the Harpie Lady monsters, and that's Harpie Lady 1 and Cyber Harpie Lady. And something I was testing out because I've seen a lot of other players play it, and I was like, it actually does have some merit to it. It's one less Harpie Lady monster you have to add to your hand. It gives you the additional beater in the form of Cyber Harpie Lady. But the only downside is I would love to have two Harpie Lady 1s in case I do unfortunately have to discard the Harpie Lady 1 for an effect, or I lose her through a stupid effect. And that's the only real downside to it. We've already talked about Harpie Dancer, so let's talk about the ever-faithful trio of Harem Hell, the Harpie Lady Sisters. So with the Harpie Lady Sisters, you have to remember that they must first be social summoned with the effects of Elegant Egotist. I am so happy this card is back into fruition, because this game was really just going to kick Harpie Lady Sisters to the curb. It's just one of those bad monsters that surprisingly really good spell card can social summon. And Harpie Lady Sisters is making their mark. A lot of people want to retrain of Harpie Lady Sisters, but how can you have a retrain of a monster that you practically barely use? Right? So why not give it a chance to actually run Harpie Lady Sisters? I mean, you practically only just need one, because you have so much search ability, you have so much recovery, you have so much social summoning going on with this deck that the one Harpie Lady Sisters is just enough. So, let's move on to the spells. Let's see where the clock is on timer. Oh, 10 minutes, good. Alright, so triple Hysteric Sign. If you're not adding Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand when this card is activated, you're pitching this card for a discard cost, a discard effect, or you're sending it to the graveyard by means of it being sent to the graveyard from an effect. So that you can add up to 3 Harpie cards from your deck with a different name from your deck to your hand. I love Hysteric Sign. Hysteric Sign is ultimately one of my favorite Harpie spells. It's not no Harpie Feather Duster, but the fact that it can search for Harpie Feather Duster makes it all the worthwhile. It makes it worthwhile when you can have a spell, you have spells, traps, and monsters that you can search for off of a card. Harpie's best engine is when you search, and you do have draw power in the form of Feather Rest, but you have so much strong search going on in this deck that you'll probably lose to a well-timed Thunder King Ryo or a well-timed here or there card to stop you from searching. But because of how accessible Harpie's destruction cards are, yeah, you're not going to have a problem with that either. Let's move on. Oh, also just to note, Hysteric Sign cannot activate both effects in the same turn. If you go to search for Elegant Egotist, you cannot activate this effect by sending it to the graveyard to add the 3 Harpie cards from your deck to your hand. And trust me, they will be watching this sometimes when it comes to this card, so be careful. I don't know why I just said that. I guess I just wanted some filler. Alright, let's move on to Harpie's Hunting Ground. So this card pretty much, when Harpie Lady or Harpie Sisters is normal social summon, the player who conducted that summon selects a spell or trap on the field and destroys it. This is pretty much turning your Harpie Ladies into walking MSTs without the hassle. You have so much versatility with their 200 additional attack and defense, so there's nothing there to be worried about as well. This is a really good card for a really good deck, and one of the biggest field spells in the game right now, because it turns its archetype into a walking MST, unless you're a dragon. Now let's move over to Alluring Mirror Split. A lot of people did not like this card's effect at first, because the first effect is pretty much you have to be destroyed by battle, not just not battle and card effect. The second thing about this card is, of course, what people love about it is its last effect, which is if this card is destroyed by your Harpie card effect or your opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Harpie monster from your graveyard to the board, and that is just tremendous because so many things can possibly be done with this card thanks to this card. And honestly, I did not expect so much of this to actually be prevalent, but because of how good this, I've used this stuff in a tournament recently, and that whole destroy by battle effect can become very useful. That's what I'm talking about prevalent. But the third effect, great, because you can pop it with your Harpie's Hunting Ground, you can send it to the graveyard thanks to Conductor, and then get a special summon off of it. Harpies, no, we're talking about Harpie's Feather Rest now. This is pretty much your pot of average for Harpie Ladies. I mean, I know it contradicts the whole Hysteric Party thing, but if you only play one of, you should be perfectly fine, because you have ways to retrieve it, you have ways to search for it. It's just a basic monotone card, but it has so many very great uses to it. It's just like Yangzing Path, if you look at it, because Yangzing Path was similar to this as well. Having the ability to add your cards back to your deck, shuffle, because of how the adverse-like effect, and then draw from it. We're going to move on to Elegant Egotist, which is biggest targets, of course, are Harpie Lady 1, 2, Harpie Lady, Cyber Harpie Lady, and Harpie Lady Sisters. We're mainly getting your Harpie Lady monster so that you can go ham and go crazy with a ton of the combo plays that you get off of Elegant Egotist. Then we're going to move over to the last Harpie card, and that's Triangle Ecstasy Spark. So, some key notes about this. You have to control Harpie Lady Sisters, has to be on the field. Doesn't matter who has it, but Harpie Lady Sisters has to be present for this card to activate. The next thing about this is the attack boost that it gives the Harpie Lady Sisters. So their current attack will become 2700. How you take advantage of that? Well, you play your Triangle Ecstasy Spark first, then you play all your crazy shenanigans on top of it to give your Harpie Lady Sisters that additional boost. Trust me, they will need it in this current game because there's just so many different cards right now that can get in your way, that have just so much fruition to do things to get in your way. We're talking about Ultra Guides, we're talking about Red Reboot combo setups, we're talking just the whole 9-yard and shebang when it comes to this. So, yeah, that is Triangle Ecstasy Spark, and then Regeki for the monster removal, and Monster Reborn to reborn our monsters. Now let's move on to the traps. Triple Feather Storm to negate those nasty hand traps to deal with monster effects, and to be the first trap card that Harpies have in the physical card game to be searched through the effect of Hysteric Sign helps. It's a great trap card. It's such a useful trap card. It has so many benefits to it. All you really need is a Harpie Lady on the field, a Harpie monster on the field, a Winged Beast, and bam. No Ash Blossoms, no Ghost Reapers, no Winter Cherries, none of that. Just all, Winter Cherries and Ghost Reapers, same thing. Well, no Winter Cherries, no Ghost Ogres, none of that. No nasty graveyard effects, no on-field effects trying to trigger, none of that. Unless it's like continuous stuff, then we can't do it continuous stuff. The downside to this is, of course, the final effect, which is we can't do it in TCG because we don't have Harpie's Feather Duster. R.I.P. Feather Duster. But hopefully we get it in July. Hopefully. Let's move on to Hysteric Party, the 1-card Harpie Lady Special Summon card. Discard a card, so summon as many Harpie Ladies from your graveyard as possible to the field. Swarm effect, Link effect, tons of advantage you can get off of Hysteric Party. Most people have cut it down to 2 just because you don't want to see it as often, but you still want to see it. It's still one of your most prevalent summons in this deck, and it shouldn't be a hard, one of. I honestly think you need to run multiples of this card, if not 3, 2, just so that you can at least see it, have ways to abuse it, and have ways to get around a lot of stuff. Now, with that said, let's go on to Harpie Lady Elegance. You put your Harpie Lady Sisters back in the deck, and you get 3 monsters from your deck. 3 monsters to the field. 1 Harpie with, one Harpie Lady from the deck, one Harpie monster from the deck, 1 Harpie monster from the hand, and 1 Harpie monster from the grave. This shouldn't be too hard for most players, but the big thing is you have to run Harpie Lady Sisters in order for this card to go off in its first effect. But its second effect, if it's destroyed by your Harpie card effect or destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you're adding a Harpie monster from your deck to your hand, which is perfectly fine. It shouldn't matter if you don't have this, if you're not going to run this or not. At least you'll have an easy free pop target. Also to note that if you do play this card's effect, immediately after it resolves, its last effect will kick in, is which you can actually summon monsters from your... You can actually summon monsters that are not winged. There's also a similar thing with Harpie's Feather Rest, that if you use their effects, you can't summon monsters that are not winged. So, luckily enough, Wind has been getting a lot of here and there support, a lot of here and there setup cards, and a lot of things to just deal with stuff. We're looking at you some work. Alright, so the other 2 cards in this deck, Churchill Tribute to wipe out monsters. You got a really nice combo off Harpie Conductor and her ability, because she can protect herself in your Harpie cards by sending the cells or traps you have to the graveyard. And then Infinity Impervience is pretty much the effect Veiler with a high price tag. Alright, now let's move on. I've already talked about the beautiful Harpie Conductor. Let's talk about the rest of the extra deck. The Double Great Fly for additional attack power and recovery. Darumadal to pop spells and traps so we can not have to deal with them when we can't get to our Harpie Lady. Really still a great monster overall. Gains 100 attack for each beast warrior and or winged beast that is surrounded by. So tons of support from the Harpie Ladies because they're winged beasts. And the recovery effect, which can help and come in very handy. Now we'll move on. Barrel Sword Dragon. Barrel Low Dragon v Barrel Sword. Whichever one you want to run, you're more than welcome to. I'm rocking the Barrel Low Dragon because I don't have a Barrel Sword at the moment, because I know it is going to get reprinted, because it was confirmed to reprint soon. But overall, I really do enjoy the Barrel series in terms of the dragons, because they're amazing dragons and they have really nice artwork and they're really good monster effects. This is the one that snatches a monster till the end of the turn, and most of the time I'm probably going to get rid of that monster for another Link summon. Moving on to the extra deck monsters. Phantasmal Dragon is the original extra deck monster for the Harpies. It needs 3 monsters, of course, for its summon. Whilst on the board, your opponent cannot target your Harpie monsters for attacks or battle. This thing can attack directly, but during each of the end phases, you have to detach. Each of your end phases, you have to detach a material from this card. But it shouldn't take too long for 3 hits to take out a monster, possibly more if you have Great Fly already on the board. Then we have cards like Lightning Chidori, Castel, Ice Beam Zero Fine, and Tornado Dragon. Those are just staple cards that I run in the extra deck for my wind monsters, especially for my Harpie Ladies, because they have so much fluency. Tornado Dragon destroying spells and traps. Ice Beam Zero Fine negating stuff on the board so that she becomes a giant beater and takes them out with no fear. Castel and Chidori are my additional removal cards without having to destroy stuff. And I really do like the fact that you can activate Castel's effect to set a card and then Exceed Summon into Lightning Chidori and get rid of that card with such ease by putting it at the bottom of the deck. The Abyss Dweller is to deal with nasty graveyard effects from other decks. The Cowboy is for that 800 burn. And Babushka is here for any stall out in case I need to, so that way I can prep for other combinations of effects and strategies and stuff like that. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. The extra cards pretty much were just some extra cards that I've been fooling around with. They're not really that much important if I haven't already talked about them. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Let me know what you guys think by leaving me a like, commenting, subscribing, stuff like that. Hit that notification bell when you guys want to be informed in which I upload my videos or do my live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.